I'm like, all right, so I'm just cutting and I have the stove on and I'm putting the food on the stove and I'm like, all right, we're just going one after another. He's like, nah, no. He's like, what is it? Proper planning prevents poor performance. That's the key.
I like that.
Yeah, proper planning prevents poor performance. So we have to prep everything before we get into the nitty gritty, right? It is a wash. This isn't a moisturizer. So it's very emollient because I really like to get any extra product that is on the face, because even if you use wash, you ever notice like if you ever go in with a makeup wipe, there's still some makeup residue on there? That's so annoying. So I'm just gonna like massage the face. Give yourself like a little mini facial just to get everything worked in. And think of it as like sandpaper, right? We don't want it to have like a smooth finish, a smooth slate, right, before we prep the skin. I'm just acting like we wet the face. I would do it like this. Put the Elemis on, and then I would get a makeup wipe and just do circular motions around the whole face. The Laneige Cream Skin. This product is really good because it actually helps bring back moisture into the skin. Close for me. So the steps that you want to do when it comes to your skincare is going from the lightest to the thickest. So the lightest product would be more like a hydrating mist. The next would be something like a serum, and then it would go into a moisturizer. Does that make sense? Like how it goes from the lightest to thickest? Perfect. With the Laneige Cream Skin Toner, my absolute favorite for everybody, whether they have great skin, oily skin, dry skin, combo, mature, not mature, babies, the whole thing. I actually like to use my hands for this. I'm gonna grab it and I'm gonna press into the skin. What this?
Send these products out, like,
Absolutely. Oh my God, yes, for sure.
This feels good.
It feels good,
Yeah,
right?
it's really like refreshing.
And don't forget the neck. You guys ever heard of Glow Recipe?
what do you do with it?
So, so it's the dewdrops. So I'm gonna show you two products, okay? This is now optional for anyone. If you are oily and you need to have oil control, you wanna get the Glow Recipe. It's the Blur and Pore Minimizer. This actually helps control your oil. But if you are normal and you are combo or anything of that going forward, I love the Laneige Glow Syrup. So it's so great just to bring back, again, moisture into the skin. It helps minimize pores. All of us have pores, but whether we have like small ones to big ones, this is what is key to help minimize that. Wash out with my hands. Do that with your face too. Again, I do this with all my clients. I like to just grab my pointer, my thumb, and grab it going from the outer part of the lip and feel the hollows of her cheekbone. And then bring it back. Really imperative to truly prep the skin. The Elemis Pro Collagen Marine Cream. I love it because it gives the skin such a supple feel. A little bit goes a long way. Again, we're using our hands for this. We don't need a brush. We don't need anything like that. Again, if you're a makeup artist, totally fine. As long as you tell your client, hey guys, my hands are clean. Do you mind if I do it? I always see people use brushes and it's totally fine to use a brush when it comes to skincare, but have you guys ever done it where you're like, oh wait, why does it feel like this place is a little bit dry or too oily? It's because you're not feeling it. You don't know where the face is. And sometimes you'll even notice like, okay, I notice like the cheeks are a little bit drier than here. So then I know at least I'm gonna add a little bit more. Which is also another product that I truly love. I've used this a little bit before I actually tried it for this class. I used it on myself. You always wanna do SPF. Doesn't matter. Yeah, no, this is a moisturizer, but a little bit. One pump goes a long way. SPF is imperative. It doesn't matter if you're a client, if you're a person that's going out and you're taking photos. I know people say flashback, but don't worry because whatever product you're putting on top of it and the powders that you're gonna be applying over it is gonna counteract that. You just need protection from the sun. Marinating the skin. I wanna go into eyes now. I love this concealer as well because it is truly lightweight, it's hydrating, but it also will help give coverage in those areas that you need. But a fun fact, I don't like to use primer on the eyes, I like to use a concealer to the eyes. I like to use a flat brush. I use a flat brush just so you guys can see. I love to use this to kind of carve out the brow very lightly. I go underneath the brow just to lightly give it a shape. And the other thing I like to do is I like to touch brows on last. Brows are like my last thing. A very thin layer. I'm just gonna bring it. I love this baby. I like to have a small one just in my kit. Is this a hidden gem that I don't know about?
TikTok everywhere. So it's sold out almost everywhere. It's setting powder.
I think is probably the best investment for anyone, and it's the Patrick Ta For Eyes palette. Have you guys ever seen this palette before? You know. And I'm gonna show you guys how to do that with just these two to create an eye look. So I'm gonna go in with the blender brush. This is from Morphe, which, like I said, guys, it's not like anything expensive. I believe this was like $6. This is the Morphe M573 brush. I'm gonna go in with this shadow right here. He does Scandal, but I like to grab it, and I'm only gonna grab the tip of it, load it, and then pat off. I'm gonna have you open and look straight for me. So everyone's eye shape is different, right? And some of us, we feel like we don't have a crease or we don't have like that definition. But wherever you see your eye open, I like to grab my blender brush, and I like to actually start in the middle. And I like to just press and go into a circular motion just to see where I can kind of create that crease, where we have that definition into our eyes. I know a lot of people like to start on the outer corner. I personally will start right in the middle. And like I said, I'm applying pressure, going in circular motions in that one area. I'm not going back and forth, just circular motions. Then I'm going to start going in circular motions, but going into the outer corner, and then bringing it to inside. And then once I actually have that color base on, that's when I'm gonna go back and forth with this shade. The brow bone, I like to just bring it right above where you at least still see a little bit of that lightness right there. I'm gonna go in, so you can either do this dark color, which I believe is called Transition. Yeah. Transition or Divine. So one of these you can use. Now this is up to you. I'm gonna go in with Transition right here. Again, I'm gonna use just the tip of this, and I'm gonna tap it off. I don't want all that product on the brush. Again, I like to have my eyes open, or I like to have my clients' eyes open for this part as well. Just to the tip, the outer part of her eye, I like to apply that pressure right below where we did the transition color. Does that make sense? Does that? And then again, I'm just pressing right in and just wiggling. I haven't moved any product yet. Just applying it and pressing it and wiggle. Just so I can get this beautiful base of a color in the eye. I'm gonna go back in, and I'm gonna go a little bit below that transition, that first color we did. And I'm gonna just bring it to the middle of her eye. Back and forth. So first I apply pressure, I get the color payoff, and then I blend it back and forth. This is what I will say is take your time, because you could tell when something isn't blended correctly. I'm gonna go in with the lighter color right here in the palette, and I'm just gonna load it on its belly. Tap off. I'm gonna have you close for me. Right, starting from that inner corner, I'm gonna just press to get that color payoff that I want. Especially if you're pressed for time. You know how we do like that mini cut crease kind of look? You could do this with just the shadow by just pressing right into the lid. And I like to meet it where I put the darker color as well. Bring the look together. How you guys saw me when I applied the shadow where I pressed it in, I want you to do the same. Don't drag. So I like to start first in the middle of the eye, and I'm just rubbing right onto the lash line. You want it to start off as thin. And then if you want to make it thicker, you absolutely can. But I'm just going, pressing, just to kind of get the base. Open for me. Beautiful. And then if I want to go in a little bit more, I can. You're going to lift your eye and you're just going to go into the waterline. There's a tip and then there's a belly. So whenever you guys hear me say belly, it's the side. When you hear me say tip, that's the tip, right? And have you close for me? I'm going to start again from the middle of the eye. I'm going to lay it right on the lash line. And it's okay to lift your lid. We want to see the gap right in between just to make sure it's filled. I like to get a makeup wipe, and I like to follow my lash line from underneath and lift to clean up. And I'm just using my finger with a makeup wipe. So I'm just getting the product on, loading it. And here's my trick for actual like full lashes is when you get the mascara, start at the base of your lash, wiggle. Like again, it's like stamping on shadow or anything. You're wiggling it and then you're lifting. Somebody that does not wear heavy makeup, but you want it to feel like and look like skin, the House Labs is my go-to. It's my ride or die because it actually is a serum-based foundation, and it does give hydration. It does minimize pores as well, and it kind of sets itself, is what I've noticed whenever I do makeup on clients. It is a sheer, it's medium to full, but I kind of could say that I can make it a sheer foundation if I'd like to. On yourself at home, you didn't hear it from me, but you can use your hands with this product. That's how much I love it. As something that's like a quick fix. It needs just a little bit for shading, and I like to mix it with the House Labs. It's okay because it is still like a very light hydrating base, but majority of my foundation will be House Labs. This is a beauty blender, but it's not, and it's very full. It can give me whatever coverage I want with my foundation. I'm gonna just grab the foundation, and this is what you have to do. You wanna stamp it into the skin. If you just swipe, you're not gonna get the actual payoff, and it will go into the fuzzes, because listen, we have facial hair, even though we don't see it. I like to press it into the skin and bring it down the neck. This will allow me to have control over what the skin will look like. You're filling it in. You're kind of filling the little holes in our skin.
And you're not like combing your facial hair.
Yes, because if you go like, if you think about it, if you're going like this,
Right.
I'm actually going to show you. Like you can't really, you could see like how this is actually pressed in, while this kind of just gives me like more of like a brushed effect. If you could see it, if you use it for foundation, here's my my advice. When doing it, make sure you actually load the product first on your hand, and actually press it in, and then go into the skin. I've noticed a lot of people when you're doing makeup, they go like this.
Right.
Pressing it into the skin. So I'm actually just gonna grab my favorite beauty blender as well from Amazon, Paw. And you're just pressing it into the skin. I don't want a lot of product on the skin as well. When it comes to photography, the one thing that will show up is how much foundation you put on your face. And if you also notice, I am not applying the foundation under the eye. Under the eye is the most delicate part. So if you're applying so much product, you're gonna start doing the opposite, which is crease it, which is also cake it up, the whole nine, and we don't want that. So I'm gonna go in with bronzing right now, bronzing slash contour. So I love to use an angled brush that's also fluffy for this. And I like to use a dual fiber. So dual fiber basically means it's synthetic and also natural, and animal hair, sorry, or natural hair. And I like that because it can also pick up the cream products, but also be used for powder products as well. I'm gonna just press in to my product. So again, this is she's bronzed. Press a little bit on my skin. When it comes to contouring and it comes to, or like bronzing, right? What's the first thing that we've been taught, right? Go to the hollows of the cheek and then apply pressure right there. Wrong. You actually want to go above. Right above, and you're going to press. And if you guys notice this whole time what I've been doing is a pressing technique. And I love a fluffy brush because it's going to do the blending for me.
Did you get the brush on Amazon?
Amazon. I'm gonna give everybody the link as well. And what that will do is kind of give it that snatched look, that really lifted look. And then I'm also gonna bring a little bit around the forehead. Again, pressing it into the skin. I'm not blending out. We want to contour our little double chins that we think we have, but we don't.
Yes, we do.
No, we don't. So I like to actually go a little bit above the chin. We're trying to hide, right? So I go a little bit above the chin, and I'm chiseling it, but I'm pressing it. And then once I go under the chin, I will blend everything down because we don't want to have a harsh line. I personally love to use Hope. Hope is my favorite because it is such a beautiful transitional shade for anyone in all skin tones. And it's a beautiful dome shape. Be careful because it's very pigmented. And when applying it, I like to start actually from the back of the face. And the reason why I start in the back of the face is because that's our widest point. So if we are trying to contour, contouring creates that chisel effect from the back. And if we want more of an apple, then we bring the color towards the front of the face. So if we want to look more snatched, we're bringing it to the back. We want to look more apple, we bring it to the front.
Oh, want to look snatched.
You know, the only piece of makeup that I actually
Slowly bringing it in to the apple. Don't be scared if you feel like the blush is too high. That's why I go in with the concealer last. Hydration, even if you're oily. So sometimes how you're like, oh my God, I feel like I'm very oily underneath. I don't care. You got to get hydration under the eye. So I love the Too Faced. It's the multi-use sculpting concealer. And my trick is, and I know we don't want to keep buying more products, but I will say if you want to get a beautiful transition of like a nice bright under eye, if you want that, you have to conceal first. And the trick to concealing first is actually going in with a shade that's either a little bit warmer to cancel out the darkness, or something that is an actual canceling product like a peach tone or a pink tone. So for her, they are not the same. I'm only doing this just for purposes of applying on a client, but you could go right in with the dome of the brush. This one, I'm only strategically applying where I feel like I have to conceal.
so concealer would cover up.
I'm just gonna press right where she needs, and I'm not gonna take it all the way to the lashes because that's where we find that creasing effect. So I'm just pressing it right in. I'm gonna just press it in, and the reason why I'm gonna use the Beauty Blender now is because I don't want a lot of product under there. I just wanted that pigmentation to be there first. And I'm pressing in. Again, we're not wiping.
I wipe.
No, ma. No, ma. We don't do that. And then bring it down the cheek a little bit, so now that it starts to blend with that actual blush.
What concealer
I use natural beige. Natural beige, I notice, works for a lot of skin tones. Very much a little bit goes a long way when it comes to the look. Now I'm going to be using the light color just in very lightly. Down
Has the shape of your face, of where you're putting it.
of where everyone would be applying it.
Contour the nose, her nose.
I didn't do it yet. I kind of want to see, because I notice when I do it, a lot of people go very harsh and it's too harsh. So I like to bring a little bit on the outer part, going towards the temple of the brightness, because now I'm actually lifting that cheekbone back up.
That's crazy. It looks like you just gave her a facelift.
It's right here, only a little bit right above, close to the temple, and I'm kind of cutting right underneath where the shadow is. Any shadow brush, anything that's like a stiff flat brush that you have would be good. Or if you are using this concealer, just make sure you take a lot of the product off, because I love the dome shape. Apply it right on, but very little bit. So now I'm just doing the Beauty Blender again. Another trick, guys, wetting it. Please don't have it dry. You gotta put it underneath, wring it out, get it in, wring it out again, and then that will allow to prevent the absorbing of the foundation or the concealer. So very lightly pressing under the skin and applying pressure. Again, you're noticing the technique is pressing, not wiping. And you see how like the blush is still peeking through. And if you were to go in with concealer before doing a blush, I feel that I probably would have gone a lot more heavier with that concealer. Yes. So I love to use a loose powder when it comes to the face. And I love to, again, be strategic of where I'm applying it. We're going to TJ Maxx. If it looks like this is too much, okay? Oh my God. Because if you were going to put this on your face, most of the time, I mean, if I'm in a rush, I'm going like that and I'm pressing it on, that's when it becomes very heavy. I want to make sure it's actually sitting into the velour puff. And then
It looks like that.
It looks like that on your hand. Put your hand.
Oh yeah, that's what it looks like. Oh, thanks, Mom. But make sure that underneath, before applying the powder, is completely blended out and it doesn't crease. Because if you're not setting it, there will be creasing. So look up for me. Now that I use the Beauty Blender, I'm gonna take that velour puff. I'm gonna press. Oh, sorry. I am pressing into her skin. Right underneath. Now, what I love to do as well, I like to bring it down the cheek, above the apple. This is to help really set that makeup. And now that I have it on my hand, I'm gonna just take the rest of that. Flawless, filtered look. It sets the makeup, but it doesn't feel heavy. Wherever you're oily, it will help control those oils as well. I am just now pressing it, bringing it above the apples, because what happens is we actually get really oily around those apples of the cheeks, and we actually have larger pores around the apples of the cheeks. So by pressing this product in, you're actually, again, reinforcing that filling of the pores. What I have left, I'm just gonna kind of bring it underneath, so where the tracheus is, I'm following it to my lip. That just kind of gives me reinforcing a little chiseled effect to her face. I'm gonna go back in for the bronzer part, press it in, tap off. I'm now gonna actually press in, back in to reinforce that cream product. Sorry if I'm like, and then I will press and lift. And don't forget the neck, guys, because we don't want to have a floating head. And now that I see, like I'm looking at the face, I feel like her nose is now disappearing and I need to bring it back into the face. I'm gonna just go right into the tip with the bronzer. Same thing, the Patrick top. And just, I love it.
Yeah, I like it.
And I like to just go right to the tip of it, around the tip of the nose of the bridge. Very lightly, you don't need a lot. And I'm actually gonna brush it into the brows. What that does is really bring in your whole feature into one and just really create like a seamless look for it.
Yeah, I agree. So you use a fluffy brush.
Fluffy. I don't like to do a stiff brush for this because I do feel that it will create a very harsh line. And I want it to blend really nicely into the skin. But I feel like I need to have something a little bit more chiseled. But do you see how it's like very natural, not too much, but when you take photos, it's gonna look like you actually have a beautiful, flawless face. From Amazon. I love the flat brush just to load up on the tip, tap off. I'm gonna have you look up. And then just press onto the lash line. I feel like for years as well, like, you know, I feel like I'm being like a broken record talking about pressing, because I noticed that when I was working at MAC, a lot of times everything was blending. Everything was like rubbing into the face, you know, and doing the pressing motion wasn't taken lightly. So it's going to be getting used to. So remind yourself every time it's a pressing motion. Beautiful. And then if I feel like something is harsh, I'll just rub in the tongue. Color. And just pressing it in. Some people like to use a liner. I actually like to use a shadow because I feel that it actually will set better than an actual pencil liner, on contrary to belief. Even though I've noticed that a lot of pencils will be waterproof, which I love for the top part, the bottom I've yet to find, except if he tells me there's a product, that does not smear. You know when you do the liner and then you're noticing like why is it smudging underneath? I've yet to find a solution other than a shadow. And if you want it to be something that is a little bit looking like a liner or something, I'll use like my setting spray. I'll wet it. And then I'll press it to give it more of a linered effect where it looks a little bit more of the, like harsh, if that makes sense. These are two different lengths. Let me see. I won't let her leave. No. I like to cut in the lash. What happens is there's always like a plastic piece that pokes in. Make sure you cut that. Cut that because it will literally have you tear and then you go blind by the end of the night. And then we're gonna cut the outer corner out. What I'll have her do, look down again, tab off, just to make sure it's not poking her on the inner corner, and apply again. When measuring it, make sure it goes to the outer part of the eye. And then it's okay if there's like a little section missing from the inner corner, because again, because we applied a little bit of that liner. When applying the lashes well, you apply it and let it sit. Don't put it on and apply it right away. Because what happens is when you notice what you try putting it on, it just lifts it. Like it just comes off and you're like, why the hell is it not sticking? I like to put a little generous amount on each corner, and then I apply the band of it. When looking for a lash, what I've noticed is I look for what the band looks like. And what I mean by band, it's what the lashes are being held by. And if you look at it, you start shopping, you're like, why is it such a thick black band? That's when you know it's gonna be so uncomfortable. Listen, 45 seconds. That's gonna allow it to get tacky. Air, anything with this glue, when it comes into contact with air, will allow it to get tacky. Having it fully stretched, you can't go like this, having it face front and try to apply, right? Because what happens is our eyes are folding and we're gonna keep blinking. But if you actually hold the mirror to your chin, your eyes are fully stretched out. You can still see, and you can actually see like where you're applying it. And you can apply it right on. And as long as you have the lash glue tacky, it's gonna help a lot. And we could do it where you cut it in half. So cutting in half is gonna help as well for yourself. Cut it half, apply the outer corner first, and then apply right next to it after. So now I'm gonna have you look down. Just like how I would do it on myself, I'm gonna do it on the client. I'm gonna press it onto the center and then apply it. And because it's tacky, it's not gonna move. It's gonna apply just like glue. I already set the foundation. I already did all that, but I didn't set the blush and I didn't add highlighter, right? We set the bronzer, but we didn't do the rest of the blush. And I feel like the blush now kind of went into non-existence with a fluffy angled brush. Just a little bit, tap off, and then you smile for me. And now I'm just bringing it back. And now I like to start again from the back of the face and then bring it towards the apple, bringing color back. So this is the Charlotte Tilbury. I'm just gonna go in with the highlighter by Dior palette. And right above, while the skin is wet, set it with a setting spray, not wet by makeup. I'm just applying with a fluffy brush. This is actually real techniques that you can find at Ulta. Finally a product that you can buy in a store. Highlighter on the tip of the nose to give like a little button nose. And I'm gonna do a little bit above the lip. Into the inner corner of the eye. Just to bring that back in. I'm gonna have you to stay natural. I like to go right where the natural lip is, that little border around, not inside, but that little white, if you actually think about it, we have like a white hollow around our halo, around our lip. That's where I'm applying the lip liner. And I like to start at the bottom first. And the more further down you go, the more poutier you're gonna have your lip. So we want a lip filler look. We are gonna go a little bit lower. I like to do the bottom first, and then I'm gonna do the Cupid's bow as well.
And that's a natural color?
A natural color, yep.
If your lip hangs over, do you do the same thing, like you go in that line?
Do you agree, like with older, like I've heard a lot of makeup artists say that if you're a mature individual, that you shouldn't follow the line all the way through because it gives you that
So you don't want to go all the way to the outer part of the lip because then it starts giving it like a duck-esque type of look. We want to go in from the inner part, like the outer part of our lip, and create a straight line meeting the Cupid's bow. So here, so not out here and then creating like a circle. We're going to go from that outer part of our lip and create a straight line meeting the Cupid's bow. Cupid's bow is a straight line actually meeting where I did the full effect. And I also love, because this pencil is so creamy, I like to actually color the lip in and leave the center open. Right? Lipstick, and add it right to the center. Right where you feel like that little center of the pout is, that's where you apply the light color.
That is literally what I
I'm gonna go in with Buxom. This is pink champagne. And then start right in the center and bring it out. Just so I can see. And it kind of looks like it's already done because remember the first step I ever did was when it came to the eye was I kind of carved out underneath to see what my shape of my brow looks like. Brows, because we feel like our brows are too light. That's by Tarte. I could just brush it through to see like, okay, do I really have to fill in my brows? Like, sometimes using a brush will do its job already. A little bit here, lightly. Now because let's think about it, it's summertime and we sweat no matter what. The best. Guys, One Size also sponsor me, One Size. I love this product. This is my holy grail. I think of this as hairspray for your face. Literally, it smells like hairspray. It smells so good. And you just want to give it a really good shake prior. And it's the One Size. It's the On Till Dawn Mattifying Waterproof Setting Spray. It's truly not mattifying though, because it's whatever your skin looks like is what it's going to create. It just truly seals it in place.
Does that ruin your hair when it's
Does
done?
it ruin
No.
your hair when you're doing that?
Yeah.
Nope. Perfect. It smells like hairspray, doesn't it? Have you used this product before? Never. No way.
Look at how stunning she looks. She's
I think you